You're listening to Brand, the marketing show. With your hosts, Thomas Sterling.
But now's the time. Giddy up and go.
And Veronica St. Cyr.
So on brand, I will take it.
An unfiltered conversation on brand strategy.
That's where the best work happens.
Marketing trends.
They're keeping it relevant.
And emerging technology.
$1 billion. That's when you know you made it.
You're excited.
I'm pumped.
All right, let's kick things off.
Woo!
Woo.
We are in the studio. We're ready to go. We got big stuff to talk about today. You know, marketing and entertainment have always been intertwined. But years ago, we had, clunky 1.0 product placement where maybe there'd be a Coca-Cola sitting on the table, maybe a Pepsi product, or some sort of a really close-up logo staying in the middle of a shot. Brands are getting really creative. Really creative, to the point where some brands are becoming creators themselves. What are your thoughts on this, V?
Yeah, brand integrations have evolved so fast, and we have the numbers to prove it. And you got to follow the money. Product placement spending is expected to hit $30 billion by 2026. Consumers can recall brands in shows and movies 20% more than traditional ads. It makes sense. We talked about partnerships on the last episode. You have some built-in brand equity because they're characters that you love and they're using the product. And lastly, 65% of consumers say in-content advertising makes a brand feel more authentic, though we know sometimes it does feel like bullshit. So the lines between content and marketing and entertainment are continuing to vanish. And it's almost like there's an evolution beyond just partnerships. We're starting to see like meta marketing stunts.
We're moving past the era of logo slaps.
Yeah.
It's showtime. Well, I'm back. I feel real good about myself, you know what I mean? So, without further delay.
All right, State Farm versus Tide. What's it going to be today, Veronica?
Before we even get there.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's
ground
time
rules
for
again?
some ground rules. I need like a song for that.
Are these ground rules or are these just facts?
They're just facts.
Okay.
But we're trying to make it fun.
Okay,
We're trying
all
to
right.
make them fun facts.
Rules.
So some fun facts about product placement. They started with radio sponsorships in the early 1900s. You had radio soap operas that, funny enough, had ads for soap. I don't know if there was a correlation or it was just like women are usually at home listening to these radio shows during the day. And
We got to sell soap. We got to move this soap.
Yeah, we got to move the soap. In the 1920s, films like The Garage, starring Fatty Arbuckle and Buster Keaton, had signs for Firestone tires and Red Crown gasoline. And then fast forward up to 1982, one of the most prominent, like ingrained in all of our memory product placement experiences of all time is during E.T. When we see Hershey's Reese's Pieces. I say Pieces. I know it's wrong, but I love to say it. Who actually the product was not doing very well. And then after this saw a massive sales boost to the point where an executive said it was the biggest marketing coup in history. We got immediate recognition for our product. It's the kind of recognition we would normally have to pay 15 or 20 million bucks for. They paid $1 million. And he called it a cheap ride.
When I think about product placement, I think about Bond, James Bond.
Wow.
I mean, his brand has been leveraged. That franchise has connected with and partnered with all sorts of brands. I think about Omega and the Omega watches. They've launched a series of watches. I think of BMW. BMW specifically. Remember the movie GoldenEye?
How could I forget?
Oh, classic James Bond. I think, Pierce Brosnan, right?
Yeah, that was Pierce.
Okay, all right. And after that movie, BMW is promoting the BMW Z3. They had a tremendous spike in sales. So I think, once again, synonymously, it works.
And it works so well, but it can work really poorly to the point where everyone likes to make fun of product placement. And that actually can be a form of product placement in itself by just doing a satire. And I think a perfect example of this is Wayne's World.
Let's play the clip.
The fact is, he's the sponsor. And you signed a contract guaranteeing him certain concessions, one of them being a spot on the show.
Well, that's where I see things just a little different.
And he's flipping up a Pizza Hut pizza box. He pulls it out, takes a big bite out of it.
Sorry you feel that way, but basically it's the nature of the beast.
No, he's got a
Maybe
bag
I'm
of
wrong on this
Doritos.
one, but for me, the beast doesn't include selling out.
As he's selling out.
As he sells out.
Cuts to Garth
You know
in
what I'm talking
Reebok
about,
gear.
right?
Oh, all the Reebok gear.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
It's so good. You've seen this recreated in movies like Talladega Nights, Ricky
Shake and
Bobby,
Bake.
Shake and Bake. We love it. Where you make fun of product placement while also having product placement. It's smart, but
Well,
now it's been done.
I mean, okay, product placement was a new novel marketing concept, and the audience didn't know about it. And that was the first era. Then there was the era of some discerning audience members understood it. Maybe they saw it. Then you moved into an audience where audiences saw it, expected it, called it out, but maybe tolerated it. And now we're in an era where they're like, if you're going to do it, it better be super interesting, super authentic, super out of the box, and then I'll tolerate it. Otherwise, I'm going to complain about it on social media.
Amen. And then still kind of talk about the brand. So getting into our brand showdown, I'm taking Tide.
Now that we covered the ground rules.
Yes. That we covered all those ground rules. So Tide's marketing style, known for meta humor, known for breaking the fourth wall. We might all remember the from a few years ago Super Bowl, it's a Tide ad campaign where it seemed like it was an ad for something else, like a car insurance company, and all of a sudden one of the actors in the accident looks down and is like, oh my God, I have a stain on my shirt. And then they're like, haha, it's a Tide ad, which was so funny for the audience. They've had partnerships with the NFL, Olympics. They were in a Josie and the Pussycats movie in 2001. But again, that was a satire taking aim at consumerism. So they've always walked this kind of fun meta line. Now, notably, and why we're talking about it now, is this new age of product placement. Marvel is heavily, heavily promoting the new Captain America movie. They're in their kind of next phase of the Marvel universe. And instead of Tide showing up in a scene in a Marvel movie, we had a trailer, and there's a scene where you see Captain America fighting the Red Hulk. And it's the exact clip of like the big fight scene that they're showing in the movie trailer. And then it cuts to a bunch of people covered in dirt because this battle's happening at a bus stop. And someone walks up and goes, oh my God, wait, what do you guys do? Like, how do you take care of this dirt? And I could continue going, or we could just play a quick second of the clip.
Let's do it.
Here we go again.
Wait, there's a Red Hulk now?
I know he's red.
He seems very angry.
Why is he so mad?
Sorry to interrupt, but what do we do about this?
You must be new in town.
We use Tide Oxy Boost.
It's a lifesaver.
The most powerful clean in any universe. Tide.
Looking good.
Thank you.
Well, at least it's on time.
See Captain America: Brave New World.
So for the audio listeners that didn't get a chance to see that, I mean, basically what? The characters come in, destroy the environment, and then what? Make our friends waiting at the bus stop completely drenched and dirty.
Which is so funny because you think about there's so many Marvel movies and there's all these extras or NPCs basically who are always caught in the middle of whatever chaos is happening. And so you always think about like, yeah, these people, I mean, not only like getting hurt and losing their homes, but are probably, are probably covered in dirt all the time. So it was such a smart concept. But to have the ad take place in bookends of a promotion for the movie made a lot of sense. Marvel fans are also quite committed. This capitalized Marvel fans' attention who were like, oh my God, a trailer for the new Captain America movie. And then, haha, you're watching a Tide ad. It felt kind of seamless. It used the same cinematography and tone. So if you actually pay attention, if you're able to look at the clip, it does look like it is existing in that reality.
Well, I think that it's nice that they also gave a nod to the people that aren't fans. They're like, oh, there's a Red Hulk now. Like, it's like, yeah, maybe I haven't caught up.
True.
Maybe all I have, maybe the only context I have is trailers for past movies. Maybe I'm not a Marvel fan, but like that can bring people in, and there's humor that connects anybody, right? It works across all languages.
Yeah, and speaking of something I actually don't watch, so I didn't know anything about, is what you're going to be talking about, which is Severance at State Farm.
See, I can't believe that you in this moment are not watching Severance. Isn't the entire American population watching Severance now? It can't be. I know that Apple TV only has a small, tiny fraction of the population, but it is everywhere. It is dominating. And if you want to hitch your brand wagon to something that is and it's having a moment.
Yeah, Severance
It
is
would be
having a moment.
Severance. It would be Severance. Okay, so let's just rewind. State Farm. Who represents State Farm? A lovable person named Jake. And not the old Jake, the new Jake, because they had to upgrade. The first guy sucked.
Yeah, I know. New Jake, who dis?
But I mean, okay, so it's kind of the same ad every time. Jake pops out of nowhere and saves the day and reminds people about the insurance products that they forgot that they had or that they needed. Okay, very exciting. Insurance is one of those interesting categories we've covered on the show before. They make it fun. The Severance stunt is really fun because Jake comes into the Severance reality, and yeah, you're a person that's just saying, oh yeah, I still haven't seen the show. Maybe I'll catch it at another time. But it still draws you in. What was your vibe on the commercial?
My vibe on it was it made me feel like if we are at a point where one of the major insurance companies is using Severance as the backdrop for their ad, maybe this is actually bigger than I thought it was. And I do have FOMO by not watching it, which is kind of crazy.
Well, this is kind of a fun one for me to cover because not only is it a commercial that I thought was great and notable, and it's an interesting brand partnership for sure, but I have a friend that actually worked on producing it. So here's a photo.
Oh, that's so cool.
The camera, it's going to blur.
Cutting edge stuff. Are we allowed to see this? That looks like that could be Area 51.
I don't know if she wants me to show it to the world, but I'm going to show it to the world anyway. I think for this commercial, they actually had to recreate the Severance set. They shot it at a different soundstage, but a lot went into the process of making this commercial. Let's play the clip.
Where am I?
Hi there. I wonder if you'd mind watching this brief video.
I, Jamie S., will undergo the procedure colloquially known as severance. I will be severed from my parents' auto insurance. What? No. No, I can't figure out insurance.
You will.
But my dad will pay for it?
He won't.
So I have to do that?
Severing from your parents' auto insurance isn't scary. State Farm's always ready to help.
Oh, thank goodness you're here, Jake.
Who's this guy?
Who's this guy?
Wait, what?
Okay, how do I get out of here?
Yeah, about that.
So for anyone listening that doesn't know Severance, it plays out this not so utopic alternative timeline maybe where a company comes up with a way to sever your work self from your home self. So get that work-life balance going, because anything that happens at work, you will not recall. You will just have mornings and evenings to yourself. And what happens in the middle of the day, you will not remember.
You might be recording a podcast about something you don't even know about.
You might be stuck in the severed floor recording podcasts all day long.
Oh my God. Am I severed right now?
You might be.
Shit.
I mean, geez. In some cases, it sounds very attractive, right? There's things about it for some people that would be like, wow, I wish I didn't have to think about work when I'm not at work. But that's not really where the show goes. Spoiler alert.
Don't spoiler anything.
Doesn't feel so great on the severed floor all the time.
What's cool about this is similar to what Tide did with the Marvel ad. I can even tell from not watching the show, I recognize this scene. And because they did so many activations and PR stunts as this new season was coming out, they also matched the aesthetic and the tone so perfectly. So all of a sudden, the show has become the backdrop for the ad. And this line between advertising and marketing has almost been severed.
Well, I would take it a step further to say that the ad opens in a Severance environment, and then you feel the energy shift when it turns into a State Farm commercial. Like when he pops in and then they start laughing and they're making fun of the main guy, like that is when it sort of shifts. And so they did, and there's some adjacent ads associated, like getting lost because the severed floor just turns and twists and Jake's like, how do I get out of here? Like they really play that out. I think that this is just one of those moments where lots of brands would kill for this kind of a partnership. And it's not just with Severance the show, it's with Apple.
Speaking of Apple, if we're going to talk about some other brands, Apple used Ted Lasso in an ad for iPhone, where Ted Lasso shows up in an iPhone ad. You had, did you watch Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Do you remember Eggos?
all over the episodes.
General Mills Eggos, very heavily featured in the Netflix show Stranger Things, to the point where they've done waffle activations where ads for waffles felt like a show trailer for Stranger Things. Again, just this line blurring. And the Barbie movie is...
It's just one big ad.
It's not even product placement. It's one big... It's crazy. It's like, this is where we're going. Like, who's going to top that next?
Well, that's a brand moving from participating to content creating.
Exactly.
And creating their own moment.
And creating their moment and then reclaiming a doll that we all judged and saying, don't judge her, she could do anything. And you're like, wait, we used to negatively talk about this.
If you put Will Ferrell in the movie, I'm in. So
I love it. And then because we talked about Marvel, Heinz and Deadpool, if anyone remembers this, when the Deadpool Wolverine movie came out, Deadpool's costume red, Wolverine yellow. There was almost a split billboard that was advertising Heinz ketchup and mustard of how good they went together, which is so cool to see a brand like Heinz jump on that bandwagon.
Product placement doesn't always go well. One example of that would be Jurassic World. It was almost like 10 years ago now that movie came out, but at the time, people were kind of frustrated because you're in this fun, interesting environment where you're on an island and you have a Starbucks and a Ben & Jerry's? Does that even make sense? What are these brands doing here? It feels forced. And I mean, getting back to the top of the show when we were talking about Wayne's World as the example, if it feels forced, people don't necessarily buy in. And their Mercedes partnership was so shoved down your throat that it was to the point where people were like, okay, I get it. They're driving Mercedes. Thank you so much. And I thought back to the first Jurassic Park. And I'm pretty sure, we should probably Google this to confirm, but I'm pretty sure that the car was a Ford Explorer.
Well, the fact you remember that proves that product placement does work.
It's like still in there. I'm just like, can picture the T-Rex just smashing the roof of the car, coming for the kids.
And now for something completely different.
So if we had to put this to work, I would say first thing, think past the logo slaps. This is not one of those moments where you can just throw your logo on something or find a partnership that is opportunistic because maybe timing works, but it doesn't necessarily fit with your co-brands, right? Ultimately, it needs to feel organic. There needs to be some connective tissue, and that's what's going to feel authentic and make people want to buy in. Next, it's content first, ad second. You really need to deliver here. People are expecting more from this. And if it's interesting, if it's storytelling, if it's fun, then you're going to get some social media. You're going to get a little bit of velocity there. The last thing would be you don't need to be Hollywood to do this. There are tons of ways to scale this. You don't have to partner with Apple. Apple might not be returning your calls, but that doesn't mean you can't work with influencers, micro-influencers, YouTubers, all sorts of different bloggers, and even podcasters like us, right? We're still waiting for the phone call from you. Last would be the future of advertising is immersive. And so it's really about creating those three-dimensional experiences.
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. Ovaltine? A crummy commercial?
So if you had to take anything away from the episode today, Veronica, what would it be?
Oh, I'm sorry, Thomas. Did you ask me something? I couldn't hear you over the sound of the bubbles of this crisp, refreshing polar seltzer.
Oh my gosh. Show the camera that.
Laces out, Marino. Just kidding. In the near future, ads are not going to feel like interruptions. They are going to feel like experiences, integrated and woven into the stories you love, and sometimes creating the stories themselves.
Well, mine would be the goal is not just simply to get on screen, but to have people remember you for it. And if that's not the case, you're just overpaying to be background noise. And with that, we're out, folks.
That's a wrap. For more Brand, follow us anywhere you get your podcasts. We're out of here.